Hello students, in the last session we have completed regulation of kidney functions. In that we have finished with the renal autoregulation, then neural regulation and thirdly hormonal regulation. In hormonal regulation we have studied how ADH, then ANF, atrial natriuretic factor and RAS are controlling the functioning of the kidney. Okay, now we will be talking in detail about micturition. Micturition is what? It is the process of release of urine. Okay, so urine release करते हैं एक्सक्रीटरी सिस्टम में से, तो वो प्रोसेस को क्या बोलते हैं? मिक्चुरेशन. ओके, एंड द न्यूरल मैकेनिज्म विच इज इन्वॉल्व्ड इन मिक्चुरेशन, that is known as micturition reflex. Okay, so neural mechanism causing the urination or micturition is known as micturition reflex. Okay, so we'll study which are the nerves which will bring about micturition reflex. Okay, there are two types of nerves. One is hypogastric nerve and another one is pudendal nerve. Okay, pudendal nerve and hypogastric nerve. Very important question is asked, which nerves are involved in micturition reflex. First is hypogastric nerve and second is pudendal nerves. Okay, now we will see how exactly this message is sent to the CNS. Okay, so whenever the urine is formed in the kidney, you all know what is the actual conducting pathway. Okay, renal papilla से फिर minor calyx में आता है urine, minor calyxes fuse to form major calyxes and many major calyxes open in the big cavity of the kidney, that is known as renal pelvis, and from the renal pelvis that urine will enter in the ureter. Okay, and from ureter this urine will be stored temporarily in the urinary bladder. Okay, urinary bladder stores urine to some extent for some time, and what is the quantity of urine which can be stored? Max to max 400 ml. 300 to 400 ml of urine is stored in the urinary bladder. Okay, got it? So what happens when the urinary bladder is getting filled up with urine, and if it reaches, if the volume of the urine reaches above half of the quantity, total quantity which is stored in the urinary bladder. Total quantity कितना store कर सकता है urinary bladder? 300 to 400 ml of urine. Okay, so once the urinary bladder gets filled up with a little bit more quantity than that of the half. Okay, so 250 ml approximately, if we take 250 ml of urine is accumulated in the urinary bladder, then slowly and gradually these nerves will get stimulated. Okay, so voluntary signal will be passed to the CNS. Okay, so what exactly happens when the urine gets filled up with the when the urinary bladder gets filled up with the urine, that is half से थोड़ा ज़्यादा, that is 250 ml, then the stretch receptors which are present at the sides of the urinary bladder, supposing this is the urinary bladder, so यहाँ पे stretch receptors रहते हैं, so this stretch receptors will be analyzing the reflex, voluntary reflex कि अभी half भर गया है यूरिनरी ब्लैडर यूरिन से. ओके, सो हाफ से ज़्यादा होने के बाद whatever stretch receptors which are present in the walls of the urinary bladder will start sending message to the CNS through these nerves. Okay, so voluntary signal is given by the stretch receptors which are present in the wall of the urinary bladder, and this voluntary signal which is there, it is passed to CNS, that is central nervous system. Okay, these stretch receptors are present in the wall of the urinary bladder. Okay, so what is going to happen? The nerves will be passing the message towards the central nervous system. So central nervous system will analyze that, अरे क्या मैसेज आया है. So उसको समझ में आता है कि urinary bladder is getting filled up with the urine and it has reached more than half. Okay. So then return message will be sent by the central nervous system, that is motor nerves will send the message to the urinary bladder, okay, that there should be release of the urine from the urinary bladder, okay. And how this message is sent? This message is sent by the nerves of the central nervous system, okay. So from CNS, signals are passed as motor messages to initiate contraction of the smooth muscles of the urinary bladder. So CNS से फिर message आएगा towards the urinary bladder, and urinary bladder you all know it is having the smooth muscles, okay. Which muscles are there? Which specialized muscles are seen for stretching and contraction in urinary bladder? Detrusor muscles, okay. So these detrusor muscles will get stimulated and they will contract vigorously, okay. And because of contraction of the wall of urinary bladder, there will be force exerted over the urethral sphincters, and urethral sphincters will relax, okay. Because of relaxation of the urethral sphincter, there will be release of the urine out of the body, okay. So urethral sphincters दो हैं, हम लोग ने स्टडी किए थे, inner, that is internal urethral sphincter which is involuntary in action, and external urethral sphincter which is voluntary in action, okay. So when the urine reaches the tip of the urethra, okay, when it crosses internal urethral sphincter, will feel the urination sensation, okay. And urination is in voluntary control because external urethral sphincter is voluntary, okay. Got it? So what exactly happens here? How the message is carried? Voluntary signal will be analyzed by the stretch receptors of the wall of the urinary bladder. Why they can analyze? Because urinary bladder is filled up with urine more than half, that is 250 ml, okay. So this stimulus is received by the stretch receptors, and stretch receptors will give message to the CNS, okay. So voluntary message दिया जाएगा CNS के पास, CNS will analyze, okay, क्या हुआ है, okay. And then what will happen? There CNS nerves will send message towards the urinary bladder wall, that is detrusor muscles which are specialized smooth muscles will then contract, because of which the urine will be simultaneously entering in the urethra, okay. And urethra is guarded by urethral sphincters. Urethral sphincters का relaxation होगा and thus there will be release of urine, okay. So this whole process which is there, it is known as micturition. क्या बोलते हैं उसको? Micturition. So contraction of the urinary bladder and entry of the urine in the urethra and relaxation of the urethral sphincter, all these things take simultaneously. And which are the nerves which will bring about micturition reflex? Hypogastric nerve and pudendal nerve, okay. Thank you.